What's up everybody, Tony here with High Tech Check, and today we're going to be taking a look at some chargers as well as some charging cables, all made by Spigen. Now I will be putting a link in the description in case you guys want to pick any of this stuff up yourself, and if you guys like me and you want to support my channel, please use those links because it helps me keep purchasing products to do reviews for you guys. Now the really nice thing about Spigen chargers is the fact that they use GaN technology. Now you're probably asking, well, what is GaN technology? Well, it stands for gallium nitride, and it's the future of charging. It allows the charger to run cooler and have a smaller form factor while putting out the same amount of power as a larger non-GaN device. It also uses power quality technology that helps minimize signal noise and provide a more stable current, which helps increase the life of your device. Now, if you've recently purchased an Apple MacBook or even used a one from a previous year, you'll see that their charger is quite huge and it only has one port. So why would you spend money on a charger this size that only has one port when you can purchase these wall chargers that have about the same amount of power as this with a smaller form factor, and they have 4 ports instead of 1? Another thing that's really bothering me, and I'm sure it's bothering a lot of you, is the fact that these cell phone providers, such as Samsung here, when they sell you a phone, you don't get a charger in the box. How are you supposed to charge up your phone quickly? Yes, I understand you can plug it into a computer, but it's going to be super slow. And why would you buy a single port charger when you can purchase one of these ArcDocks by Spigen that have 4 ports and have like quadruple the amount of power in that same form factor? It's a no-brainer. So here we have the ArcDock GaN 654, which is a 65 watt wall charger. Here we have the ArcDock GaN 1204, which is a 120 watt charger. And we also have some charging cables that go along with these chargers here. Now these chargers here can charge 4 devices at one time, up to a MacBook Pro. Things like that size, all the way down to, AirPods, things like that. So they're very versatile. So I'm going to take these out of the box, set them up, and we'll charge up some devices. Okay, so first up is the ArcDock GaN 1204. This is the 120 watt adapter. So here we have our charging cable. And then here we have the charging station itself. It's got a nice matte finish. There's the Spigen logo. It feels really solid and substantial. It does not feel cheap. It is made of all plastic, but again, like I said, it's really solid. There's the plug-in in the back there. Here we have our 2 USB Type-C connections and then our 2 USB Type-A's. Now, you're going to be able to get 18 watts max out of each one of these connections here, and then 100 watts max out of each one of the USB Type-C's. Now, like I said before, if you are going to use this to charge up your MacBook Pro or anything big that uses a lot of wattage, you're probably going to want to use one of these just for the max, because if you end up using both of these at the same time, it's going to cut the wattage in half. So the max is going to be 100, but this is a 120 watt total charger, so it's going to be 60 and 60. So if you're going to want to charge up your MacBook Pro or something big quickly, you're probably going to just want to use one of these ports here. And then we have the little LED notification on the top there. So let's go ahead and plug this in real quick. And then as you can see, there is that little green LED to let you know that it is powered up. It is subtle, so if it's somewhere where you can see it while you're sleeping, you don't have to worry about it blinding you at night. And actually, it actually looks a lot brighter on camera than it does in real life, but that's a nice little touch. Okay, next up we have the ArcDock GaN 654. This is the 65 watt charger. Here is the power cable, and then here is the charging station itself. Now this one is just like the 120 watt, but it's smaller. As you can see, we still have the 2 USB Type-C cable connections there, and our USB Type-A's. It still has that nice matte finish, the connection in the back, and the little LED. It does have a little bit of weight to it, less weight than the 120, but it's still substantial. And the wattage you're going to be able to get out of the USB Type A's is going to be 18 watts, just like the larger version, but the USB Type C's here are going to give you a max of 65 watts. And if you use both of them at the same time, one of them will be 45 watts and one of them will be 18 watts. So again, if you want to charge maybe like a MacBook or a larger device quicker, you're going to want to just use one of the ports. And then just for size comparison, here's the 120 versus the 65. So as you can see, the 120 is still not that big, but the 65 watt is definitely a lot smaller. And then for some size comparison, here is the Apple MacBook Pro wall adapter. This is 140 watts, but it only has one charging port versus Spigen's 4 charging ports, half the size. Which one would you rather have? I'd rather spend money on the Spigen charger and get more functionality versus spending $100 on the Apple charger and only getting one port. Now here we have all the various cables that Spigen sells to be used with their charging stations here. And I can already hear what you're saying. I don't really care. I don't need any cables because I have a ton of them at home. Well, I'm here to tell you that not all cables are created equal, and you want to make sure that you're using the correct cable for the correct situation that you're going to be charging in. All these cables will work backward compatible, but if you're charging up things like a MacBook Pro, larger things like that that can utilize the 100-watt charging situations, some of these cables you're going to want to use over some of the other ones, and we'll get to that in just a second. So if you're going to be charging like an iPhone, an iPad, things like that, all of these cables here will work, like I said, backwards compatible, but these two here would work good for those two types of situations. The first cable we have here is the Spigen Essential. This is an MFI certified Apple cable. It's a USB Type-C to Lightning cable. And this is the cable you're probably going to want to use if you're charging up your iPhone or iPad. It can accommodate up to the 30-watt fast charger that you can get from Apple. And you can also use it very easily with one of the USB Type-C connections on the Spigen charging stations. This will also allow you to sync up your device to your iMac, a MacBook Pro, or computer if you need, as well as the charging. And it's got a really nice construction. It doesn't feel cheap at all. And then the next cable we have is the durasync. This is a 3-in-1 cable. It connects up to your USB Type A on the Spigen charging stations. It's got a nice braided cable, so you don't have to worry about it getting all kinked up. It also has 3 different ends. It has a Lightning connection, a USB-C connection, and a micro USB connection for pretty much all your charging needs. Now this will accommodate up to the 18 watts that the USB Type A can put out. And if you want to change the ends, all you do is simply just pull off the end there and then pop on one of the other ones, just like that, and you can charge up your iPad, your cell phone, or whatever you need. So now we're starting to get into the cables that you're going to want to use for bigger applications like charging a MacBook Pro or other devices that can accommodate up to 65 watts, because this cable here can accommodate up to 60-watt charging as well as 480 megabits per second data transfer if that's what you want to use it for. Again, this does have a nice braided connection. It is a USB Type-C to USB Type-C connection, and those plug in perfectly fine with the USB Type-C connections on each one of these Spigen charging stations. Now this cable can accommodate up to the 65 watts that the 65 watt charging station can handle. You can also use it with the 120, but it's going to be maxed out at 60 watts. So you can use it with both, but regardless of which one you're going to use, it's only going to be able to do up to the 60 watt charging. So like I said before, not all cables are created equal, because this one can handle up to 60 watt charging, these ones cannot. So depending on the situation you're charging in, you want to make sure you have the correct cable for the situation. Now, if you're going to want the fastest charging speeds and fastest data transfer speeds, you're going to want to get the Spigen PowerArc arcwire. This cable is thick. As you can see, it's much thicker than the other cables. This cable can accommodate up to 40 gigabits per second data transfer and 100 watts power transfer. So you can use this with any of these charging stations that Spigen sells, and it can accommodate up to that 100 watt charging port on the 120 watt power station. So if you're going to charge up a MacBook Pro or something like that, and you have the 120 watt power station, or if you have the Apple charger and you want to use this cable, you can utilize up to that 100 watts of fast charging. And this is a heavy duty cable, very nice, well constructed, and it should last you a long time. You can also use this cable if you have maybe like an external enclosure for an NVMe SSD drive. You will be able to take advantage of up to those 40 gigabits per second. So again, you can use this for more than just charging. It works very well for data transfer. Okay, so now we're going to check out the charging speed differences between the 65 watt charging station and the 120 watt charging station with my MacBook Pro here. Now, if you do have bigger devices such as the MacBook Pro, I would definitely suggest you get the 120 watt adapter with the faster charging cable just so you can take advantage of those speeds, but you can definitely still use the 65 watt charger with the 60 watt cable if you really need to. So first off, we're going to go ahead and use the 120 watt charger. I'm going to use the 100 watt charging plug, and we'll see what the speed time differences are. Okay, so here as we can see, it's going to take 48 minutes until the MacBook Pro is fully charged from 81%. Again, that's using the 100 watts from the 120 watt charger using the 100 watt cable. So now I'm going to go ahead and switch it over to the 65 watt charger using the 60 watt cable, and we'll see if there's any difference between the charging times. Okay, so using the 65 watt charger with the 60 watt cable will get the MacBook Pro charged up totally in an hour and 10 minutes from 82%. That's about a 22-minute difference. I'd say that's pretty significant. So again, like I said, if you have bigger devices that can handle more wattage for charging, you're definitely going to want to get the 120 watt Spigen power station. Both of the charging stations will get the job done. It's just a matter of how much time you're willing to wait to charge your device. So now both of these charging stations can utilize all 4 ports at the same time, and I'll show you that right now. So here is the 120 watt charging station. Here I have my MacBook Pro. I just have the Apple charger connected because that has a little LED to show you that it is charging. So that is plugged into the USB Type-C port on here. I'm just going to plug this in. As you can see, the little red LED lights up. And then here I have my HP tablet PC that uses USB Type-C to charge. So I'm going to plug that in using the thicker USB Type-C cable that can do up to 100 watts. We should see the little LED start to light up here, and there it is, just lit up white. So now that's charging at 60 watts. And then here I have my Samsung tablet that can do fast charging. I'm going to go ahead and plug that into the USB Type-C cable as well. We should get some fast charging on there, which we are, so that's charging. And then I'm going to go ahead and charge up my Nintendo Switch with that 3-in-1 cable. It uses USB Type-C. As you can see, it is now charging. So now I have all my devices here charging up perfectly fine. I've got my Nintendo Switch, I've got my Galaxy tablet, I've got my MacBook Pro charging, as well as my HP tablet PC, all from one charger. So like I said before, if you're going to be charging larger devices that can handle more wattages and you want to charge them all at the same time, you're definitely going to want to get the 120 watt charging station because it can accommodate those faster charging speeds all at one time. So here is the 65 watt charging station. Again, if you have smaller devices, things that don't use quick charge or need a lot of wattage, you can simply just use the 65 watt and charge all 4 devices at the same time. So here we have my iPhone 13 Pro Max. I'm using the Lightning to USB Type-C cable. And then here we have my little wireless microphone that uses USB Type-C. I'll go ahead and plug that in. It's charging. And then maybe you have a Sony a6400 camera that you want to charge up that utilizes the micro USB cable that comes on the 3-in-1 Spigen cable. So we'll just go ahead and plug that in so we can charge up that battery. As you can see, it is charging. And then for the last USB Type-C, we can go ahead and use one for our tablet. So again, both these charging stations are capable of charging 4 devices at the same time. So you don't need to carry around 4 different chargers for all your devices. You can simply just use one Spigen power adapter. Okay, so now I just want to show you what the speed differences were between the 40 gigabit and the 480 megabit per second cables were. So first off, we're going to start off with the 40 gigabit cable. Here I have my external NVMe drive that is connected with that cable, and I'm going to go ahead and do a speed test here. The NVMe drive that I do have in here is the Western Digital Black SN750, 1 terabyte. It's capable of doing around 3,000 megabytes a second. So we should hit pretty close to that with this cable. So here I have my MacBook Pro and I have the Blackmagic's disk speed test up. I'm going to go ahead and start that. Okay, so here's we can see we're getting about 2,500 for the write and 2,700 megabytes a second for the read, and that is pretty good. So this cable is definitely going to give you the max speeds that you're capable of getting for your NVMe or SSD. Now another thing I wanted to mention, especially for those Mac users out there, the PowerArc arcwire is Thunderbolt 3 and 4 compatible, as well as USB 4. So you can use this with PC, Mac, pretty much anything you're going to need, and get those really fast speeds. Whereas the durasync, it's not Thunderbolt compatible, so you're really only going to be able to use it with PC and Android devices. So you also don't have to worry about your devices being overcharged or getting hot and possibly catching fire, because Spigen has built-in protections for each one of these charges, such as thermal protection and overcharge protection. So no matter what your situation or charging needs, Spigen definitely has you covered with their ArcDock wall chargers as well as their different cables. And if you guys want to pick any of these up, I will be putting a link in the description. And if you guys like me and you want to support my channel, please use those links because it helps me keep purchasing products to do reviews for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that little notification bell to let you guys know when I put out new videos. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.